Welcome back to Bon Voyage Besties, your go to podcast for friendship, travel, and a little bit of humor along the way. As always, you're joined by your favorite Jersey girls, Rosa and Rachel. Today's episode is a special one. It's all about planning an unforgettable trip to Tucson, Arizona. If Tucson isn't already on your travel radar, it might be after this conversation, especially in the Northeast where we've had literally the worst winter ever with plenty of blizzards. So, from dramatic desert landscapes to glowing sunsets to an incredible food scene, Tucson offers so much more than most travelers expect. Rosa and I are very excited to welcome today's guest, Megan, the founder of Rove Relish, a travel community that brings people together through group tours and local experiences. With more than 20 years of nonprofit experience in community building, Megan is passionate about helping people connect through travel, whether that's exploring in their own backyard or heading somewhere brand new. In this episode, Megan is sharing why Tucson should be your next trip through the lens of someone who really understands how travel brings people together. We'll talk about what makes Tucson so special, from its distinction as the first U.S. UNESCO city of gastronomy to the stunning desert scenery, and how first time visitors can make the most of their travel time there. We'll also touch on the easy day trips, including wine country and even a quick visit to Mexico. So if you're curious about Tucson or just looking for a destination that blends culture, nature, and amazing food, and you guys know me, I love food, this episode will help you start planning your next adventure. So let's get into it. Welcome to the show, Megan. We're so happy to have you.
Thanks, Rachel. Thanks, Rosa. Super happy to be here.
We're super excited. I'm already sold. I'm like, all right, it checks all the boxes that I'm looking for. It's funny because I went to Arizona. I think this was probably 2018. I did like a mother-daughter trip, but we only did Sedona and Flagstaff. So I feel like there's so much of the US that I need to discover. So I'm super excited to have you on the show today, Megan.
Amazing. Yeah, and Northern Arizona does have a lot to offer, but I'm here to talk about how Southern Arizona might be on your list next time when you come to Arizona.
I'm so
Amazing.
excited. Like Rosa, I've only been to Arizona once, and it was to go to Scottsdale and the Grand Canyon. So I definitely feel like I need a return visit because I absolutely loved it. I just felt so happy there. The desert especially spoke to me. But before we get into Tucson, can you tell us a little bit about yourself and how you found it, Rove and Relish?
Absolutely. So I live in Tucson. I am born and raised here. That's why I am so passionate about the subject and love to talk about it. But I also travel a lot. And back in 2019, I made the decision, as many do, to say, "Hey, I'm traveling. I want other people to travel more, and I want to inspire them to do so. So I'm going to get online. I'm going to get on Instagram and start sharing that story." And so I did that in November of 2019, and then COVID hit and I wasn't traveling anymore. And when I was posting about travels for the short period of time, I often shared a lot about local food and enjoying that in terms of a lens of seeing a new destination. And so I shifted and started highlighting local restaurants and businesses that were struggling a little bit in Tucson because of COVID. And from that, I was really able to build a sense of community through my Instagram page. And that was really special. And I then started traveling a little bit more, and at the time I thought, "Oh no, I have a problem. I have this community that's mostly based in Tucson, but now my content is going to be a lot more about places outside of Tucson." So before I was this resource for local restaurants and activities, and now I'm going all over the world, which was a great thing, but it took some time. But I slowly realized that it was actually a really unique part about my experience and who I am. And so I've been able to lean into that community and say, "Hey, Tucson is an amazing place. I want to build in-person community here, but I also love to travel, and that's what I'm going to share on my page." And from that, I've been able to connect with other people who love to travel, both locally and globally, and that's been wonderful. And so now, in addition to sharing my own experiences, I create them for others too. I host local meetups with different businesses just to bring people together and try new things, because that's kind of what travel is all about, even if it's just down the street from your house. I also host virtual meetups so that people who aren't in Tucson can get together. And then I host international group trips as well. So folks that are ready to take that next step and travel with me and other amazing folks outside of the country. So that's been my journey. And in the end, all of it has been about my community and being able to not only share online, but hear from other people too and their experiences and, what they hope to do with travel and what they've done. I feel incredibly fortunate to be able to do that and to be here in Tucson. It's a great place to live.
I really love that. And I love what you said that this all started with you wanting to support like the local businesses and restaurants. And now you've built this like international community, but still your focus and your heart is still in Tucson. So for our listeners who've never been to Tucson, how would you describe the vibe of the city?
Yeah, so Tucson is a very laid back city, even though we have about a million people in the greater Tucson area. We're a decent size. It's very casual, very laid back. I always think of Portland. They always say keep Portland weird, and that really resonates with me because I think Tucson is also a little weird, but in really in a good way. It's like fun
We
and
love weird.
funky.
We love weird.
Yeah, so it's a little unexpected, kind of like you guys were saying. So I think it's very comfortable here. It's a place for all kinds of people to experience a lot of different things.
Love that because I won't lie. Like sometimes Rosa and I, we live close to New York City and I love New York City, no shade whatsoever. But sometimes when I go, I feel like I need to be dressed up. I need to have the full glam on. I need to have my designer bag. I need to like almost look the part, if that makes sense. Not that anyone's pressuring me. I think it may be pressure from myself, but I love a city where like it's just more laid back and you can like feel it in the atmosphere.
Yeah, absolutely. And I completely understand what you're saying. And I think we all do that. I think we see a certain vibe, we want to match that vibe. And here you could certainly dress up, but oftentimes you're going to find in restaurants, even our more elevated restaurants, that it's not quite as fancy, maybe even as fancy as maybe Scottsdale, which is just 2 hours north of us. It's just a different culture and vibe. So Tucson, we're pretty laid back here. Don't take
Right up
ourselves
my
too
alley.
seriously.
I love that.
Yeah, definitely right up my alley too. So you mentioned Scottsdale, and I know I said that I've been there before for a visit. I know Rosa, her and her daughter have been to Sedona. My mom and brother have also been to Sedona. So why do you think Tucson is often overlooked compared with other destinations in Arizona?
Honestly, I think one of the reasons is just geography. I mean, Phoenix is just a few hours north of us. It's the fifth biggest city in the country. So people fly in there and they go north to the Grand Canyon. They go to Sedona, which don't get me wrong, stunning. I love Sedona. Northern Arizona is absolutely beautiful. I also love to travel there. But then that's kind of where the exploration stops. And I think people just don't realize how much we have to offer in Southern Arizona. It's not just Tucson. Day trips outside of Tucson, it's the wine region. We're really close to Mexico. So I just think that the focus is going north of Phoenix, but I would love for people to consider, Southern Arizona the next time they come because the whole state just has a lot to offer. And it's so different down here than up north where you're going to see pine trees and the red rocks and things like that. We have a lot of different landscapes here.
I really love that. And when I think of like Arizona in general, I think of the desert, right? Like that's immediately what comes to my mind. But what else would you say if you had to describe Tucson for someone who hasn't been there and they kind of want to explore outside of the desert life? Like what else would be able to find in the Tucson area?
Yeah, absolutely. Well, as I mentioned before, I love going to experience things through food and the culinary scene. And so Tucson is no different. We have an amazing food scene here. I personally think that we have some of the best Mexican food in the United States. And that's,
Okay, I'm sold.
yeah, and that's my selling point.
Say no more. Episode's over.
Let's go. Let's
We're
go.
going to Tucson.
I'm so spoiled because when I travel other places where there's not a lot of Mexican food available, I realize how often I eat Mexican food because good Mexican food's so easily accessible here because we have our taco shops, we have our taco trucks, we have Sonoran hot dogs, and then we have sit down restaurants and we have restaurants that are exploring what it means to create Mexican food in different ways in their own style. And so the food scene's really amazing. We have great coffee shops, breweries, wine tasting rooms. So the food scene is just generally really great. We also have wonderful museums. And some people may know this already because they're world renowned, but we have some really big festivals in Tucson too. January, February is the Gem and Mineral Show. It's the largest gem and mineral show in the world, actually. It happens every year. And that's a really fun experience to have. We just wrapped up the Tucson Festival of Books, which is a national festival that brings
Ooh.
authors from all around the world to come in. So there's a lot of really fun stuff that actually brings people to us a lot. So if someone's considering coming to Tucson, they might actually look for some of these special events too to say like, how can I add to my experience with this really like one of a kind, world renowned special event or experience that's hosted here.
I am definitely going to look into that book festival because Rosa and I, we love books. Like here in New Jersey, we'll find little independent bookshops to go to. I'm also an English teacher, have a master's in English literature. So the book festival, you just totally sold me on that. So is that like every like March, February? Because I'm so going to look into it.
Yeah, it was literally last weekend. So I think it's usually the second weekend in March, and it's a couple of days long, but there's also a lot of community events around it. So, like pre parties and get togethers, and like the local bookshops do a lot of stuff. So it's very fun. Definitely recommend it. And people just have a blast there. So if you're into reading, this is your place.
That sounds like so much fun. Now, would you say there's a specific time of the year, aside from visiting during like a specific cultural festival, that visitors should go, especially if they're going for like the first time?
Definitely. So I will be very honest. You should come here during high season and then maybe shoulder season. Our low season is the summer because, as you can imagine, it gets very, very hot. And unless you're planning on being inside the entire time, I would not recommend that for a first visit. You know, as locals, we have a unique appreciation for summer because a lot of people leave. And so it's very quiet and there, that is nice. But if you're here to experience Tucson the first time, you want to go see the cactus, you want to see the desert, do not come in the summer. Even if the hotel rates are low, do not be tempted. So yeah, I would say it's not worth it. It's not worth it. So I would say definitely October to March is great. September's still pretty warm. It kind of just depends on your heat tolerance. And then April is fine too, but I would say you're pretty safe October to March to be able to experience everything we have to offer comfortably.
Nice.
Yeah, that makes sense. When I went to Scottsdale, I went over President's Day weekend because we get a decent break during February and the weather was like absolutely perfect. But I have a friend who grew up in Arizona and when she was talking about the summer, she was like, "Yeah, we just like never went outside." She's like, "We would go out early in the morning, then stay inside in the air conditioning, and then the stores would be open really late and we would go out late."
Yeah, that sounds about right. I mean, we have, museums here, especially the outdoor museums. We go there later at night in the summer. Again, it's kind of like a fun special experience, but not for your first time, I don't think. I think and winter, like you said, winter is a great time to come out for folks who are experiencing winter weather, especially when you get to January or February, you're past the holidays, you might be kind of over the snow, the rain. Come get a little sunshine, get a little Mexican food, have a margarita, and then you can go back home.
I wish I could like teleport there right now because like we're so over the weather here in Jersey and this sounds like phenomenal.
Yes,
Like
I wish you
I'll
could too.
brave the heat. Sounds like so much fun. So, what would you say are three things that every first time visitor should know before planning the trip, aside from the heat of the summer?
Yeah, that's definitely one of them. One is also, I really recommend having a car while you're here. You can definitely do a weekend in Tucson, stay downtown, ride the tram, and do that kind of thing, but it's kind of limiting to what you can experience, especially if you want to experience more of the outdoors. So I would definitely recommend getting a car so that you can really explore all of Tucson and maybe get out of town. That would be another recommendation that I have is don't limit yourself to the city. We have some great day trips or even overnight trips within an hour and a half, whether that's Sonoyta, Elgin, Wilcox for wine, or Bisbee for like a funky old mining town that's now really artsy and has cute B&Bs and fun vintage shops. And then we're about an hour and 15 minutes from Sonora, Mexico. You could go down there, bring your passport, and eat some tacos on the other side of the border and have that experience. There's an amazing nonprofit here called Borderlandia that actually offers tours across the border and in other parts of southern Arizona. So you could have a guided experience as well. But I think that's really important. And then, yeah, just the weather. I think being here when you can experience the city when it's meant to be experienced, I think in the winter, that's why we have snowbirds, right? These destinations where we attract people who are experiencing rough winter weather, they come here for a reason, and it's because they can be outside in November, December, January, February, and it's not that cold, it's not too hot.
Sounds dreamy. So definitely so. And you bring up a good point too, because I know I've traveled to destinations and I'm like, "Oh, is it really gonna be that hot?" But man, when you're dealing with the heat, especially if you're traveling somewhere where you want to enjoy the outdoor adventures and activities, the heat can really take a toll on you. So if you're able to definitely plan accordingly and know your tolerance too, because for some people the heat, it's like, that's fine. But for like someone like myself and Rachel, we're like, we need the air conditioner. So we'll
I
skip
live here
July
and
and
I
August.
I still need air conditioning. I live here. I love my air conditioner, so I get that.
I love my AC. My AC is like my favorite thing. And especially the dry heat. Like I remember being in Scottsdale talking to one of the Uber drivers and he was like, if you're going to do any desert hikes, and keep in mind this was in February, it wasn't the summer. He was like, take a water bottle with you, and then when you're halfway through your water bottle, that's time to turn around and leave, just because the dry heat like kind of sneaks up on you. You're not sweating. I actually got like really dehydrated in southern Spain, and this was in April and it was dry heat. But I also like what you said about day trips, because sometimes like I'll go to a destination and I'm always curious about what else there is to do right outside of the city. I like to explore everything I possibly can. So out of curiosity, Megan, do you have a favorite day trip from Tucson that you always recommend to visitors?
I mentioned Bisbee before, and I do really love Bisbee because if you're looking for sort of a small town vibe, a little getaway, it's really fun. And you can do a day trip or an overnight. So it takes about an hour and a half, hour and 45 minutes to drive there. And as I mentioned, they've got a lot of fun vintage and antique shops combined with sort of modern artsy shops, great restaurants. There's a brewery down there. And then some cute little funky hotels that you can stay in. You can actually stay in a retro Airstream as well. There's a whole property set up where you can stay in these like old school Airstreams. So again, funky and fun, but it's there's a lot of character down there. And it's even though Tucson isn't the biggest city ever, it's still a city. And so sometimes it's nice to get away and have a quiet little getaway somewhere else. So I always recommend Bisbee to people coming from out of town because as a local, I also go there and really enjoy.
Sounds like such a fun little unique place to visit. So I really love finding those like off not necessarily off the beaten path, but like those different destinations that have something like unique to offer. Rachel and I, we did a recent trip where we went to like New Hope in Pennsylvania. And it's kind of similar vibe, like very like antique, like very like funky stuff, but like very upscale restaurants and like hotels, and you have like your local like B&Bs. So it's definitely such a ton of fun to kind of find these places when we're traveling. And again, it's like exploring like technically in our own backyard. You don't need a passport. You're here in the US, so it's perfect. But would you say if that would be a good idea to go to Tucson? Let's say for us being here on the East Coast, maybe for like a short like weekend trip, or how many days you think would be like ideal for a first timer?
You definitely can make a weekend out of it. We have our own airport here, so I know Phoenix has a huge airport, but we have our own regional airport, and I love it. I'm never stressed when I go there. It's low key again, just like Tucson. It's low key. It's casual. You get through security quickly, but we also have, I think it's about a dozen nonstop destinations from our city, so you can still get to Tucson pretty quickly from different parts of the country. So if you can get here on a nonstop flight, I think come to Tucson for a weekend, hang out. We have some of the activities I already talked about, but we've got spas, we've got resorts, and we have active activities, anything that you want. But then if you really want to dig in a little bit more to the area, take your time, maybe do one of those day trips, you could easily fill a week here and more. But depending on your time frame, I just say come and try it out and see what we have to offer.
Sounds really fun.
That sounds like so much fun. I would totally do it. And I love what you said about the airport even being more like low key. Rosa and I, being based out of New Jersey, it's either Newark Airport or JFK. And it's usually okay. But sometimes, sometimes I'll just let that hang there.
Yeah, we don't want to get banned, so we won't say anything bad about them. We love our airports.
Well, and there's pros and cons, right? I mean, you guys probably have way more direct flights and international destinations, and that's really awesome. So there's trade-offs, but there's something about going into an airport, especially these days, and not feeling, immense sense of, dread going into that experience. It's a nice way to kick off your travel by just saying, okay, I'm going to go through security in 5 minutes, and
Exactly. That happened to me recently. I went to Santa Fe, New Mexico, and the airport was like really small. So prior to that, I went to Key West, and I thought that airport was small, but Santa Fe, like, it was just like basically like one room. But like you said, it was such a breeze. And even like flying out of there, like, it was so easy. Like, yes, it was a bit of a line, but it went by really quickly. It wasn't as chaotic. And I think sometimes that could be like very overwhelming for travelers. I know even myself as a frequent traveler, the idea of going to the airport, finding my terminal, sometimes that just becomes overwhelming. So I love when it can be a little bit of a breeze. So I really love that. And I really love what you're saying about the food.
Yes.
So I'm so
Yes.
intrigued. I mean, you had me at delicious Mexican food. Like you can never go wrong with that. But you also mentioned that Tucson is the first US UNESCO city of gastronomy. So what does that actually mean for us travelers?
Yeah, so we're really proud of this designation, and there's a lot that can be said about it, but really what it boils down to is really having, this sense of place and culture when it comes to our food. So, right off the bat, I've been talking about our restaurants. We have a lot to offer, a range of food that we offer that's tied into that UNESCO City of Gastronomy designation. Because just because we're a gastronomy doesn't destination doesn't mean everything's fancy, but we do have tasting menus. If that's what people are looking for, that's great. They're looking for a mom and pop place, that's also great. But it's not just about the food too. I think it's about where the food is coming from. There's a lot of local sourcing here. We actually have a lot of amazing local farms. We have a baker in town, Don Guerra, and he owns Barrio Bread, James Beard award-winning baker. And it's not just that his bread is the best ever, because it is. I'm a little biased, but I think it is. But it's also about the Sonoran wheat that he uses and the story behind it and his investment in the community. So I think there's just a lot of pride there when it comes to our food. And I don't mean to toot my own horn, but I have traveled a lot and eaten a lot of food. It's my favorite activity, when I'm traveling, is to eat.
Me too. Me
Yeah.
too, girl.
I'm in good company. Yes. Yeah. And I've been to Mexico a lot too, certainly not all of it. And so Mexico, obviously the best Mexican food in the world, but coming here and having access to so much great Mexican food, particularly Sonoran Mexican food, because we're just an hour away from the northern state of Mexico, Sonora. But then we also have central Mexican food here, and people are just putting their spin on things. And so I think people might be surprised when they come and try our food and see sort of our spin on Mexican food and Southwestern food in general. And then, when they're here, they just have to make sure they try a Sonoran hot dog. I don't think that's why we got the designation for the UNESCO City of Gastronomy, but it is part of our culture here.
Now, what does this hot dog entail?
Okay, brace yourselves. So
I'm
it
ready.
is
Ready. Let's do
your,
this.
your standard hot dog wrapped in bacon, and that's grilled together. And then there are some variations on it, but very often you're going to find like pinto beans, cooked onions, grilled onions, jalapeno sauce, mustard, mayonnaise, tomatoes, and there might be other like variations of what people put in there. And then what's really special is it's in this very soft, slightly sweet bun that's closed on the edges, so it's like a little pocket of goodness, all that good stuff in there. And it is delicious. I think they're wonderful.
It sounds, I mean, anything wrapped in bacon, like I'm sold.
I know. And I love bread. So just thinking of like the bun, do you have any like specific places that you would recommend going to get a Sonoran hot dog? I'm sure there's like a million of them, but what are some of your favorites?
Yeah, there are a million, and everyone has their opinion, just like every city with their signature dish. Everyone has their favorites. I love Aquí con el Nene, which they have a couple of locations, but the location on Flowing Wells is amazing. I love their Sonoran dogs, and they also offer really great tacos. The takoyaki is also something I'd recommend that you'll see a lot here too. So it's 2 tortillas and a grilled green chili stuffed with onions, bacon, mushroom, carne asada, and cheese. So I recommend stopping there and getting a taste of true Tucson Mexican food.
Sounds so good. I'm like, oh my gosh. Like I had dinner, but I'm already hungry again.
Let's
So
book the flight. Let's just go now.
I'm
do
ready
it.
to burn.
The airport's still open as of now, so let's go and do it.
And I'm always happy to talk food, so people can connect with me, and I'm happy to give them recommendations because everyone has different tastes. But I really want people to experience, what we have here. And even if they come and they're vegetarian or vegan, we have some amazing places to get Mexican food for folks who don't eat meat too. And so again, we've got something for everybody.
That sounds amazing. So, in addition to the Sonoran hot dog and the delicious Mexican food, are there any other must try foods that visitors should have on their visit to Tucson?
I think clearly I can talk about Mexican food for the entire episode, but we have some great Mexican bakeries as well. They make the buns I was talking about, but they have Mexican pastries that are really, really lovely. And then I think too, while people are here, I think it is just looking at restaurants that source things locally so that they can sort of try what we have to offer. I think when people think of Arizona, they think of the desert, which is very true. But we have a lot of great growers out here that are making some incredible produce, and some butchers and farmers who are producing some great pork and beef. So I think, go and check out the farmers market. We have some really beautiful farmers market. That's a favorite activity of mine too on the weekend. You get a coffee, stroll the farmers market, see what Tucson has to offer. It's great for little gifts as well. And there's a few of them in town, but you can also sort of see like what our restaurants are working with. So Mexican food for sure. And then just try out some different things and be surprised at what a great range of food we have to offer here.
It sounds so good. And there's something about like restaurants that you locally source like ingredients and they actually take pride in the food that they're producing for the customers. I know when I just went to Santa Fe, New Mexico, every place that we went to eat, like the food was just like phenomenal and delicious. And when I thought of Santa Fe, like food, like being like a foodie spot, it didn't come to like my mind. I didn't know too much, but everything just kind of blew me away. And so, 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 so good. So there's something to be said about restaurants and business owners that actually take pride in the products and ingredients that they use.
Absolutely. And I there's something fun about going to a city and like being surprised at how amazing it is. Like you can go in thinking it's going to be good, but that's always fun when you're traveling to be pleasantly surprised at what you find.
It's so true. When I was in Scottsdale, I had a prickly pear margarita, like it was based off the desert, and it was one of the most delicious things I've ever had in my life.
And they're so pretty too. The prickly pear margaritas are just a fun drink. They're fun to drink and fun
So
to look at.
fun. So fun.
And let's talk more about these margaritas. So you mentioned some breweries and wineries. So are they located like in Tucson, nearby? Are these like more for like a day trip on the outskirts? Or what can our listeners kind of expect when it comes to that?
Yes, we have breweries and places to grab wine all over town. But if folks are big into wine, I highly recommend taking a trip to Southeast Arizona. Again, hour and a half. And you can even there's day trips that go out there if you don't want to drive, stay extra safe. And you can go and try out different wineries. They have some really beautiful elevated wineries. They have the more casual ones. You can try them out. And so if you're really into wine, that's always a really fun day trip.
Very fun. It sounds like there's like so much to see and do. And even if you have Tucson kind of be like the central location and then just kind of explore within the surrounding area. So definitely sounds like it would be like a good destination to explore. So now would you say this would be like a good place to visit with like for like a girls trip, a solo trip, or it's more like a romantic type of location also?
Well, I am going to say all of the above, but I can say why. I have reasoning.
Excellent. Excellent.
Because I was like, I can check all the boxes. I'm trying to see who I want to invite.
Yes,
Yes.
exactly. So I've traveled solo for years, and this is definitely a place as a solo traveler, the type of city that I could go and hang out at. It's super safe. There's a lot of, again, it's very community oriented. So you can meet people, they're going to be kind, they're going to be warm. And there's like group activities you could sign up if you really wanted to meet people. And if you want to do your own thing, sign up for a spa day at one of the local resorts and just like chill out on your own. I mean, that is an option, which is also a fun thing to do with girlfriends. We have two really popular wellness resorts here. Canyon Ranch was sort of one of the preeminent wellness resorts, and their first property is here. It's still here. Miraval is just north of Tucson. And you can stay there if you want, but my preference is you get a day pass, get a treatment, have some food, take some classes, and that can sort of be a fun girls' getaway or even a romantic getaway. And we also have some beautiful properties here if you want a romantic getaway with a partner. And you go out to eat, hang out at the resort, maybe go for a light hike. And when I talk about outdoor activities, I mean, you can be a super hardcore hiker, or you can be like me where you love being outside, but like an hour or two of hiking and like we're good. Like that's
I
all I
like your
need in my life.
vibe.
Yeah, the
I
prickly
like
pear
your vibe.
margaritas are waiting at the end.
We have priorities.
So again, it's like the range is here, right? So you can hike all day, you can go backpacking if you want, or you can have these experiences together with friends or a partner, and really build your itinerary around that. So I really think it could be for anyone. It just kind of depends on what you're looking for at that time of your travel.
Yeah, I love that. Just like the thought of seeing maybe like a nice desert sunrise and then going to a wellness retreat and then ending with a prickly pear margarita. Like, what could be better? And speaking of the desert, because I know it's far more than the desert, but when I went to Arizona, I love the desert. Just the cactuses, the orange, the sunsets, like everything. Like, I just love the desert. So, what would you say are some desert experiences that visitors shouldn't miss when they come to Tucson?
Definitely. And to be clear, I totally agree with you. I'm from Tucson and I am so blown away by the desert. There's something really striking about all the plant life and the skyline. So, I think
I'm
you're in good
obsessed.
company here. Yeah.
I'm
It's
obsessed.
great. It's great. Well, and what's great is I'm going to share a couple of desert experiences that are really wonderful. But the reality is in Tucson, you turn around and there's a saguaro like right there. You don't have to go out of town. It's kind of the cactus and everything is everywhere. But there's a few things I really like the Desert Museum for first time visitors because not only do you get to be in this outdoor museum, experience all this wildlife, but you can learn too. So the docents are amazing. There's different learning stations, so you can really get a sense of place while you're there. So I do really like the Desert Museum. And then we also have Saguaro National Park East and West. So if you're like really into just getting into the desert, those national parks are great. And then Sabino Canyon is something that's super popular with visitors and locals. And I think what's great about Sabino Canyon is again, you can go on a huge hike, you could go for a walk, or for more accessible visit, you can ride the tram all the way up the canyon with some more information as you go along, and you can still see a lot of the area without having to do the walking or the hiking. And so that is always really popular for good reason. So there's lots of different places you can go and just be in the desert space, which is so wonderful.
Yeah, I'm like, that just sounds amazing. Like I said, I just fell in love with the desert, just everything about it. And I like that it's like accessible too. Like you said, you don't have to go super far or be a hardcore hiker to experience the natural beauty, which I also really love.
Yeah, I think that's really important because everyone should be able to experience it in a way that's comfortable for them. And so there's a lot of different ways to do that here. And Rachel, you mentioned sunsets earlier. I've seen a lot of sunsets all over the world, and I really think that we might have the best ones here. So another
I
good reason to visit.
had
Ooh.
so many beautiful sunsets. When I was in Scottsdale, we did a sunset hike. I was on a solo trip and I was going to do it completely by myself, but my family was like, "We don't want you going into the desert at night. Please take a guided tour." So which fair, absolutely fair. And we hiked up a small like mountain, and this sunset over Scottsdale and Phoenix with the desert right there. I gotta tell you, I don't think I've seen a more beautiful sunset. Like, it's definitely up there top 5. It was absolutely stunning, and I just have to go back out there to see more sunsets.
I'm so glad that you got to experience that because it's magical, really, in that moment to see that landscape and to see those colors. Yeah, it's very special. So I'm
It
really glad
turns
you got.
purple. It's so beautiful. The mountains are turning purple.
It's stunning. It's just stunning, and I think it's so easy to think of the desert as a sort of dry and desolate place, but there's so much life there and so much color and so much energy. So yeah, it's amazing.
So if you weren't sold with like the margaritas, the Mexican food, like the sunset, come on, it cannot get any more epic than that. I know I'm a sucker for a beautiful sunset. When we were in New Mexico, like every day we would like go out there like around 5:30 just to see the sun come down. And like you said, something so magical about seeing like the backdrop of the mountains and just like the sun. It's just like such a magical experience. So I'm definitely sold. I'm telling you, after this, I'm gonna be looking at flights. So
Love to hear it.
aside from, any outdoor adventures and the gastronomy, what would be some other must-do activities or must-see places within Tucson?
Yeah, so I think that again, we've got some really unique places to visit depending on people's interests, or if they want to just see something that they don't know anything about and they're like, I want to learn something new. So one of them is the Pima Air and Space Museum. And we have a museum that's dedicated to all different types of aircraft. And we have aircraft that's very old, we have aircraft that's a little bit newer. Like I'm talking entire airplanes, like outside
Wow.
and
That
in
sounds cool.
hangars as well. Yeah, so it's super cool. And then there's a lot of exhibits dedicated to space exploration as well. And again, a lot of it is outdoors, so being there when it's nice outside is really great, but there's a lot of indoor hangars as well. So that's a super interesting place even if you think I haven't ever had a huge interest in airplanes to be able to be next to them and so close to them, get in some of them. It's super interesting, very cool. There's another really interesting museum that, again, when I talk about Tucson being funky, I think this is a great example. So I'm going to say the name and try not to miss a word. The Mini Time Machine Museum of Miniatures. Okay, it is a
Is I say that 10 times.
exactly. It's indoors, which is great. So if it does get a little warm in the afternoon, you pop in there. People love it, and it's a really interesting space because it is a museum of miniature things, and It's some of the things that you might automatically think of, like dollhouse figurines and antique stuff, but it's also just all kinds of other stuff, just tiny. And so you can go from big airplanes to this museum of lots of things that are tiny. And apparently the miniatures art culture sort of, it spans generations, it spans mediums. Again, so you might be thinking, I still don't fully understand what you're saying, Megan. So I'm saying, come here, come to the museum and go see all of the tiny stuff at the museum.
We'll have to experience that after the margaritas.
Yes,
Yes, that would be
exactly.
fun.
But it also makes me think too, like this could be like a great destination also for like families because it sounds like there's like a lot to do and like really unique activities as well.
Yes, very kid friendly. I don't have kids, but my friends with kids are always out and about doing things. We have a great children's museum that does really robust programming, or you can just go and visit. The Desert Museum is also great for kids. They have very kid friendly exhibits, something called the Pack Rat Playhouse. Let your mind go to what that might be. Lots of fun stuff. Yeah, the museum that I was just referencing. But all of the activities in Tucson, especially parks and museums, they have an element to really engage young. So it's definitely a great family friendly destination. And then in the afternoon, you go for a swim with the kids at your resort. Lovely.
I
Sounds like a
love
great time.
that. I love that. Sounds like a place to take my nephew when he's a little bit older, for sure. And I want to go myself. I'm going to be like a big kid when I go to Tucson for part of my visit, I think. So Megan, as a local, what would you say would be your perfect day in Tucson from morning to night? I'm speaking for myself too, because I just want to teleport there right now.
All right. So picture yourself now. So in the
I'm gonna
morning,
close my eyes.
yes, exactly. Imagine yourself. So in the morning, I know you were talking about really liking books and literature. I would start my morning at a place called Stacks. It's a bookstore and coffee shop in Northwest Arizona, locally owned, super community oriented. I would stop there and get one of their coffees, which of course is locally sourced, amazing, maybe coffees and a pastry. And then I would head down the road to do a hike at Linda Vista, probably about an hour or so. I can see the mountains, see the views, get the blood pumping, feel really good. And then after, believe it or not, I'm actually not going to eat Mexican food. I'm going to go to one of my favorite local restaurants called Noodle Holics, where they make their own noodles and do these amazing Chinese noodle dishes. And I'm going to go there and have lunch. And then I'm going to spend the afternoon doing a little bit of shopping. We have some incredible women owned local businesses from candle shops to Tucson, Arizona themed goodies. One of the meetups I actually did recently was at a charm bar where you can go, you can make a necklace, a bracelet, a brooch, a keychain, a bookmark, that kind of thing. So do a little activity. And then I'm going to head to Tito and Pep for dinner and cocktails. They're one of the restaurants in town that I really love because it's influenced by Mexican flavors. Everything is grilled over mesquite, which is very emblematic of the area that we're in, and enjoy sort of an elevated cocktail and meal in this sort of mid-century modern Tucson space. And so that for me would be a really, really nice day here in Tucson.
It sounds like the perfect day. I know I can see Rachel's like brain kind of spinning the moment you said books and candles.
You can tell, right? I'm sitting here like, when should I go
It's
to Tucson?
perfect.
Should I go in November, February, March? I'm already like planning out the trip in my head as a potential for next year. As soon as you said books and candles and the desert, great food, I mean, what's not to love? Like, seriously.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think too, something to note is something that about Tucson is that we tend to be a little bit more affordable than maybe some of the more popular areas in Phoenix. I mean, of course, we have resorts and hotels that can be more expensive during high season, but I do think there is a level of affordability in Tucson that is a bit distinct from maybe Scottsdale or certain areas of Phoenix, which makes it nice and just like easier for more people to visit and experience more things.
I love that, especially like the budget part, right? Because like we love to travel, but let's be honest, traveling can be expensive. And I always say sometimes traveling domestically, it's even more expensive than traveling like overseas. So whenever I find a destination within the US that I can kind of go for like a couple of days, so I'm maximizing my PTO, but it's also like affordable and beautiful. I mean, You said all the right things, Megan. Like, I am ready to check out Tucson. Like, just
I
sign
did
me
my
up.
job. That's good.
You
I'm
did.
so
You
happy.
sold me. I mean, like I said, we're easily persuaded, but it just sounds like so magical. And like even from like a wellness perspective, I can also envision myself going there like a solo trip. And if I kind of want a little bit of like a reset and just more of a chill vibe, it feels like it has something for like everyone, depending on the level of activity that you want to do or what kind of trip you want to make it out of.
100%. Well said. You can be as active or as not. I think sometimes people think too, when they talk about Tucson, the word hiking comes up a lot, and we have amazing hiking here. But it's not the only thing to do here. There's so much more. You can hike, you can not hike, and you'll still have an amazing time. So, yeah, I think you make a great point that you can really, pick your own adventure when you come here, and either way it's going to be amazing.
I really love that. So, for someone listening right now who's considering Tucson, and maybe they're not as easily persuaded like Rachel and I are, what would you say to convince them to book that trip?
Well, if the best Mexican food in the US didn't convince you, I would say come for the people. And I say that even if you're coming as a solo traveler, the people here are really kind, the community is really strong, and people love living in Tucson. And so I think when you come here, you'll be able to really feel that. And I think that is really important when you're traveling, that it's not just checking things off the box, but feeling some sort of connection. And so I really think people can do that when they come to Tucson.
I agree. I
Love that.
agree. Like on all of my trips, like seeing the sights is amazing, the delicious food, the museums, the shopping, all of that. But the best stories are the connections that I've had with the people there. So I definitely think Tucson is definitely high on my bucket list now. Just hearing you describe the community, it seems like a really great place for a solo traveler, girlfriend's trip, all of the above.
Absolutely. No, we would love to have you. I think you would have a great time while you're here.
Fantastic. So, Rosa, what do you think? Rapid fire round, Tucson style?
Let's do it. Are you ready, Megan?
Ready or not.
All right. You're in the hot seat. This is a tough one. Street tacos or Sonoran hot dog?
Yikes.
In Tucson, Sonora hot dogs. Yes.
Okay. The hot dog wrapped in bacon, like there's nowhere to get it around here in New Jersey, but I want one so bad.
I know. I'm going to look it up because I need to see pictures.
Yes. Yeah. And when you see it, you're going to want it even more.
We'll put a picture in the thumbnail.
Perfect. Perfect.
We'll be booking a trip
Yes.
then. They'll be like a hot dog. All right. So you're going for a desert hike. So what is your desert road trip playlist? Is it country, indie, or classic rock?
Indie. Because, you just get like that movie vibe where you're cruising along and, you've got the cactus on the side of the road, the sunset. So, yeah, that would be my.
Really epic. I have to say that when I went to Arizona, I went with my daughter Samantha, the whole time I was pretty much doing a lot of driving from one place to another. And it was a little scary. So I did have to kind of pump up the music because she was like the worst co-pilot. She would be sleeping the whole time. I'm like, Sam, we're like driving like on the mountainside. Can you at least like stay alert? So I was pumping that music to kind of making sure that I was staying like alert and just kind of jamming out while driving around Arizona.
Yeah, that's so real. That's so real. It really gets us where we need to go.
Exactly. And sometimes you need that music to motivate you. All right. So would you say margarita or local Arizona wine?
Ooh, I feel bad saying this, but definitely, well, I don't feel bad. I think, margarita is something that people always drink when they come here, but the local Arizona wine is so good, and I'm a wine girly, so wine all the way.
I definitely need to go to a winery when I'm there because there's just like something so fun about going to a winery with your girlfriends and gossiping. Like anyone who knows me knows I love to gossip. Toxic trait, I know, but gossiping at a winery with the desert scenery, say no more.
Well, and the gossip just gets better and better the more wineries you go to, right?
Exactly.
You need minimum 2 hours, minimum 2 hours.
It sounds like we have like an epic adventure to plan.
Yes, absolutely.
All right. Ooh, another tricky one. Boutique hotel or desert resort?
I'm going to say boutique hotel because I'm all about doing the activities. So I want to find a boutique hotel that's sort of like in town and have like a coffee shop nearby. We have some amazing resorts for sure. But for me, boutique hotel.
There's something about like a smaller like boutique hotel. It feels a little bit more intimate. And I always kind of feel like I'm like part of the town that I'm visiting when I'm staying in one.
Exactly.
Yeah, I agree. When I was in Scottsdale, I was actually on the fence between booking a smaller hotel and booking like a wellness resort. And I talked about it with my mom, and she was like, Rachel, you are never in the hotel. You're always doing food tours. You want to see the Grand Canyon. You want to see museums. There's no point paying for a resort if you want to do all these activities outside the resort. So I agree. Boutique hotel all the way.
All right. Early morning hike or late night stargazing?
Early morning hike, only because I'm not very good at staying up late, but the stargazing here is amazing. It's
Want to go
amazing.
stargazing. My mom and brother went in Sedona, and I was so jealous, and I didn't have a chance in Scottsdale. I want to go stargazing so badly.
Well, and what's great about Tucson is as soon as the sun goes down, you can stargaze like from your backyard because it's the visuals or the visibility is so good. But there's also really cool experiences you can go to with observatories here, including up on the mountain by us. You can go up there and see these amazing telescopes and they guide you through the whole experience. So, yes, another great thing to do while you're out in Tucson.
That sounds amazing. I mean, unfortunately, here in Jersey, we have too much air pollution. Although I'm a little lucky because I'm in the suburbs, so sometimes I'll see stars here and there, but nothing like when we went to New Mexico, just like staying up at night and just like looking up at the sky. Like it was so dreamy. So definitely highly recommend doing that. But I think I would be the same. I'd probably do like the early morning hike because, like, same. I'm usually like in bed by like 9 o'clock. Like an old lady. All right. Well, Megan, thank you so much again for being on the episode. So, can you tell our listeners where they can find you and if you had any last closing words to convince them if they're not already convinced by now?
Which they should be.
Right? It's like, what
But
are you
thank you.
doing? Book the flight.
Yeah, so you can find me at Rove and Relish on Instagram. And so if you have any questions about Tucson, please shoot me a message. I am happy to help, happy to share information. And who knows, maybe while you're here, you can join one of my local meetups. But again, come to Arizona and explore all of it, the north, but definitely the south too. We have a lot to offer and come check us out before everyone else does.
Yes, I know we're booking that trip. So, definitely we'll
Yeah.
be there.
It's gonna happen. It's gonna happen. Like, I miss Arizona so much. So time to fire up the United app.
Exactly. Can't wait.
But thank you so much, Megan, again for being on the show. And that's all for today's episode. A huge thank you to Megan for joining us and sharing why Tucson, Arizona deserves a spot on everyone's travel list. From incredible desert landscape to amazing food and unique day trips, it's clear that Tucson has so much to offer for travelers, especially if you're looking for a destination that blends culture, nature, and community. So if you enjoyed this episode, don't forget to subscribe, leave us a review, and share with a friend who's always looking for their next adventure. And if you're planning a trip to Tucson after listening to this, we definitely want to hear about it. Make sure to follow Megan. We'll make sure to include all of her socials on our show notes and follow us along on our social media as well at Bon Voyage Besties. Thank you again for listening. And until next time, keep exploring and we'll see you in the next adventure. Maybe that might be Tucson.
Yeah, book that ticket to Tucson. You all know you want to. Bon voyage, besties. We love you.
Bye.